If you're feeling lost, if life isn't going the way you hoped, then this story is for you. Have you ever looked back on your life and wondered, why did that happen to me? A door slams shut, an opportunity is missed, an unwanted delay. We try to control, we make plans, but life seems to have a different plan. We feel defeated, abandoned, and confused. But what if what we call failure is actually protection in disguise? This is a reminder that God's plan is always greater than your pain. Many years ago, in a peaceful village surrounded by gentle green hills, lived a farmer named Robert. He wasn't wealthy, nor did he dream of luxury. He was a simple man who believed in hard work, prayer, and patience. His little farm sat on the edge of the valley. Robert's greatest treasure was his horse, a strong brown stallion. It wasn't just an animal, it was his companion, his helper, his friend. But one morning, as Robert went to the stable, he found the gate wide open. The horse was gone. He searched every corner of the fields, asked his neighbors, followed the tracks until they disappeared into the forest. But there was no sign of his horse. That evening, the villagers gathered around him. "Robert," they said, "this is terrible. You've lost your only horse. How will you work now? How will you survive?" Robert looked at them calmly, smiled faintly, and said, "Maybe yes, maybe no. God knows best." The villagers shook their heads. They couldn't understand how a man could lose something so valuable and still be at peace. But Robert had lived long enough to know not every loss is a curse. Let's pause here for a moment. Robert's reaction is astonishing. He wasn't angry, he didn't bargain with God, he didn't deny the pain, but he refused to label it a disaster. He understood that he was only seeing one chapter of the book, not the whole story. And us, when we lose a job, we call it the end of the world. When a relationship ends, we call it misery. Robert teaches us the first lesson: patience in judgment. A week passed. One morning, as Robert was working near the field, he heard the sound of hooves. He looked up, and there, his horse was running back toward him. But this time, it wasn't alone. Behind it ran 3 wild horses following closely, as if they had chosen to come home with it. The villagers rushed to see the sight. "Robert," they exclaimed, "you are the luckiest man in the village. You lost 1 horse and gained 4. What a miracle!" Robert chuckled softly and replied, "Maybe yes, maybe no. God knows best." The villagers laughed. They thought Robert was being foolishly humble, but deep down, Robert understood something they didn't. Blessings and trials often wear the same disguise. A few days later, Robert's only son, Daniel, tried to tame one of the new horses. The animal was wild and powerful. In one swift movement, the horse kicked, and Daniel fell hard onto the ground. The next moment, the boy screamed in pain. His leg was badly broken. The villagers came again. "Oh, Robert," they sighed, "you were wrong this time. This is truly bad luck. What good can come from this?" But Robert, tending to his son, simply said, "Maybe yes, maybe no. God knows best." Weeks passed. Daniel couldn't walk, couldn't help with the fields. The work was slow. The days were hard. Yet, every night, Robert would light a small lamp and pray. He never asked God why. He only said, "Thank you for everything I understand and for everything I don't." Then, one morning, soldiers arrived in the village. A war had broken out in the kingdom, and every able young man was ordered to join.
Every house echoed with cries. But when the soldiers saw Daniel lying on his bed with a broken leg, they shook their heads and moved on. "He's unfit for battle," they said. The next day, the soldiers and all the young men marched away. Months passed. News began to travel back. Most of the young men who went to war never returned. Robert's son was alive, safe at home. When the villagers heard this, they came to Robert once more. "Robert," they said, "you were right all along. What we thought was bad was truly a blessing." Robert looked at them kindly and said, "When you trust God's plan, you learn that even pain has purpose.
Sometimes
What breaks you today might be saving you from something far worse tomorrow." Our lives are like a tapestry. When viewed from the underside, from our human perspective, it's just a messy jumble of threads. The black thread of pain, the gray thread of confusion, all interwoven, chaotic, and meaningless. But God, the great weaver, is looking from the top side. He sees the entire picture. He knows that the black thread is necessary to highlight the gold thread. He is weaving a masterpiece. The problem is, we are living on the underside of the tapestry. Robert chose to trust the weaver even when he couldn't understand the jumbled threads in front of him. The lesson is this: sometimes what feels like loss is God's hidden mercy. Sometimes what feels like delay is divine timing. And sometimes what breaks you today prepares you for tomorrow's blessings. Apply these actions in your daily life. When life shifts unexpectedly, don't rush to conclusions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What does God want me to learn through this?" God's delays are not God's denials. His plan is still unfolding perfectly. Write down 3 things you're grateful for, even on your worst days. Gratitude is an act of faith. It changes your perspective from what you've lost to what you have. Remember, faith isn't proven in comfort. It's forged in the waiting room of life. Just as Daniel had to lie in bed for weeks, your patience is building inner strength. Don't give up right before the miracle happens.
If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who also needs a reminder that they are never forgotten in God's plan. And subscribe to the channel for more motivational stories that strengthen your faith. Your purpose is unfolding even when you can't see it.